Call this special meeting of Transportation Committee, December the 17th, 2019 at approximately 4:30 to order, where we'll be discussing accepting the main road at Willow Creek. Do I have any comments on that?
Approve the minutes first. Approve the minutes.
Make a motion, or I need a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now to discuss Willow Creek subdivision, phase 1.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Reed and I both have visited Willow Creek along with Ms. Gant and have talked with a few of the residents there. If we would like to give the residents an opportunity to open with talking, that's fine. If you would like us to proceed first, that's fine. That is at your pleasure.
Yes, that's fine.
Community, anyone from the community wish to speak? I know Ms. Gant that you do. Please, just for clarity, do state your name for the record. Normally we do have you submit that in writing, but.
Yeah, my name is David Perm. I live at 484 Twin View. I'm in phase 2. Couple things. I'd like to thank all you people for coming out there and looking at our problem. Really appreciate that. And every time I call the county with a problem, somebody always gets back to me, so I'm just elated about that. Lamy called me last week. I guess you had come out there and something about lights. You and I had talked about the lights. I don't know if you went out there with Kyle to see where they could put the lights, or is that fine or not? And the looms on those lights are, got it here, 6,845 looms. Their LED lights are 17 foot tall. And as the POA, we decided that we would put 2 lights in because we thought one in the phase 1 would look a little silly, so we want to put one on the entranceway coming in the first lot on your left-hand side where there's a power box. There's also a flag there. Otherwise, I've been working on this thing. I just gave Amy, since April of 2013, Harold and I met, and I started working with Community First, and that's when we found out there was a problem with phase 1. And it's just been ongoing, so hopefully we can get something resolved here. The thing that bothers me a little bit about this whole thing is, when I first started, I talked to Mr. Thrift,
Yes.
and he told me, phase 2 was approved, but there was some issue with phase 1. So I said, well, okay, and then I started looking at it. I'm not from this area, so I started checking it, and it says, well, for phase 2 to be approved, it had to have access to a county road, and I'm saying, well, the only way out of phase 2 is through phase 1. So then I thought that maybe Twin View, which actually starts at phase 1 and wraps all the way through phase 2, was county approved. So I called Mr. Kelly. I guess was he in roads or something at the time?
He was.
Because the neighborhood wanted me to get the roads clear because nobody was cutting them. Harold used to take care of them really well. And, well, they said they couldn't come in there because they didn't have access from a county road. So it's just been ongoing ever since. And then somewhere along that time, Amy came into the picture with Community First, and I thought the thing was all resolved, but still, I guess we have missing paperwork. So hopefully we can get this resolved and move on. I really would appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Can I get you to spell your last name? I didn't catch it.
Perm, P-E-R-H-A-M.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something too. My name is Patrick Higgins. I'm at 441 Twin View Drive. So it's in phase 2. I moved here about just a little under 2 years ago. And one thing I noticed is that there are 10 houses built about 11 years ago. And those 10 houses have been paying county taxes that includes maintenance for roads. Say they were $50 a year for each of those things. Over the 11 years for the 10 houses, you got about $5,000 that have been contributed to county road maintenance that's never been done. And now there are 5 more homes in here. And so, now we have even more homes. So, and we're paying into the county tax base for road maintenance. I know it's like 2.1 mil. And of the 660 miles of road, adding 1 mile isn't going to break the bank. So what I would like to recommend is that you accept the Phase 1 as it was originally designed and built, because it was done under the previous administration and met those standards at the time. I know now a big fire truck can't quite make the bend and it's got to do a 3-point turn. If that's the only criterion that you're using for those 2 cul-de-sacs, that's nice that they have to do a 3-point turn. It's not nice, I guess, but it doesn't stop the fire from being put out. So anyway, that's what I have to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and speak, since I have laryngitis right now. If I can approach, Mr. Knight called me earlier today, and he wrote notes and made copies for everybody on everything that he could remember. Do you need a copy?
And can you state your name?
Oh, yes, my name is Amy Gant. My company is Tiger Heart Construction. And Tiger Heart Construction purchased Willow Creek and from Community First. It had gone into bankruptcy, and we've been out there a couple of times. They went out with Charlie King with the fire department, went out with Amanda and Kyle, and they went over some of the issues. And I mean, some roads don't even have a turnaround, so a fire truck goes up, it would have to back down after a fire. But here's the one thing I wanted to get to mainly. Dave's been great. He's gone out and got information on the lights, which we're willing to get put up. And Harold was very clear that on the original plans, the lights were designated where they would go. And as you can read through this, you can see how the county, was who the inspector was, what they inspected for Phase 1 and Phase 2, all the bonds that were paid for Phase 1, and all the things the county asked him that had to be taken care of. You'll see that on number 10, taking out the plastic pipe at the entrance, which is Phase 1, replaced it with concrete power pipe. He had all this work done, and it has all the names of the people that were done. I had Mr. Hubbard come out and give me a bid on the pothole and the alligator cracks, which you all have asked us to take care of, along with the lights and the signs. And Ms. Brock said that they would be willing to do the 2 signs, and that's great. I've got one bid for the concrete pothole where it's in Phase 1. And then we went up and we measured the cul-de-sacs. And based on that time, they should have been 70 feet in diameter. And the first cul-de-sac, which
69 and a half.
and what's the name of that road?
That's
Cozy Hill or?
Cozy Hill.
Cozy Hill, the first road, is 69 and a half feet in diameter. And the next is Comet. And it's 68. So they're very close to that 70-foot mark. I was going to go to Grandview, which was the neighborhood he had done before, but it was that day, it was raining, it was freezing cold, and we just didn't have time to drive over to measure those just to compare if they were also close to 70 feet. Because we were talking about approving just Twin View. So I kind of want to throw out just the information that we've gathered about those 2 cul-de-sacs. And one, if they hold us to this standard, this new standard that the bank came up with, it's going to affect people's yards, and there's a kind of a hill and a cliff, and we looked at it. But now I feel better now that I have it measured by the man who built the roads. So, and again, we're all really grateful that you all have taken this time with us, and we're really glad Phase 2 got approved. And I just don't know where that paperwork is. No one knows where it is. He states that, Mr. Knight states that at the end. I've called all of these people personally, talked to them on the phone, everybody on here, including Mr. Kelly in Greenville. And they were all out there. They were all involved in phase one. I've come up, Ms. Brock knows I've come up and gone through all the minutes, but I found out that y'all didn't have to keep minutes for roads and transportation back in like 2005 and 6 for your committees, just for council. So I read everything I could to find any missing, when was it voted on, and I only found one road that was talked about in all those years. So anyway, that's what I'm asking. We're certainly willing to deed over the roads. I talked to Kyle just recently about deeding over that lot 17, which is the common area in the front, to make sure that the lines and the turn can be made. I think to a 90-degree angle, whatever he had suggested there, it's very easy for them to, they'll be deeded over. And the lights will be put, I don't think the light stakes were up when we were there.
They were not.
They were not, but now they are, and they are according to plan, because the man who actually was putting in the original electrical boxes remembers doing the work, and he says, "Oh yeah, this had lights to be put in." So he remembered, and then they decided to put a couple of lights in. So, and they would have, and then have 2 signs. I think they'll be like blind corner.
Blind drive.
Blind drive in 2 different places. So that is where we are. And of course, I'd like to get a couple more bids on the pothole and the alligator cracks. And does the county ever do bids on that for roads? I mean, just to find out what the county would charge to do that?
I don't think we would actually do the bid because we're not supposed to do that sort of thing. But if
Okay.
you want to submit the bids to us, we would be happy to review them and say whether we thought they would be in line with services.
Okay, that would
of
be,
lot.
then I would be glad to submit what the cost was on that. And then just to make sure, I'm not an asphalt expert by any means, but I can say that David said it would be cut out and 4 inches of asphalt returned to that one pothole, okay? I don't think there's anything else on my agenda that we haven't already talked about, unless you need to ask me a question.
I got a question for
Sure.
you. If we decide to just take the main drag in through there with, let's say, a provision that we would take the cul-de-sacs later if they were widened to the county standards, would you, that suit you?
I think that we definitely would take a look at it. I don't know what the county standard is for that cul-de-sac. I don't know how wide it is and how much yard it would take out for a couple of houses, so we'd have to look. What, do you know what the circumference is for it? 90 feet?
90 is a recommendation now from fire code, yes ma'am.
I don't think we have 90 feet. I mean, I know we talked about, at least on Comet, we talked about, I mean, there'd have to be extensive grading because of the
It would
fall.
be very difficult.
It would be very difficult to do that, and it would take out a good bit of one neighbor's landscaping. So,
Is there an ability to connect? I know the second road is higher than the other one. Is there ability to connect those 2 roads to where they're looped and not a cul-de-sac?
we talked about that at the very beginning, and there isn't because
Right.
the people, there's, the one lot that you would need is not owned by me, so you'd have to,
Somebody owns that lot.
somebody owns that lot, you'd have to talk to them, and we certainly can't afford to make it a loop. Now, if they want to sell you that lot, or they can, I mean, if that, I don't know. I know that lot's for sale, but I know who owns it, but, and then I own lot 8, which you then also have to come through, so it'd have to be a negotiation, and then the county would have to pay for the loop, because that's a big deal.
Well, what I look at is, in some of the newer subdivisions that we've seen built, instead of building the 90-foot cul-de-sac, they're looping properties together. And I did see where somebody does own that specific,
Second cul-de-sac down there.
plot of land, and then I saw where, I guess, on a development, call it you or what your company owns another one. It's just a thought that if there was the ability to loop that seemed like that's worked a lot better for other subdivisions. I'm just, looking at that, if we decide not to take the cul-de-sacs. From what I saw, they were about 4 to 5 feet under the 70 as built. And the 90 is a suggestion, but I think we've been under, if I'm not mistaken, we've had a few that were within the 80 to 90 range that we've taken. They haven't been 90, but they've been greater than 70.
The standards have stepped up over the years.
The standard at that
70 and
time
then
was 70.
80 and then 90, I think it may be 96 now, and that fire accepts 90.
96 now.
Yeah. So, but for the time when this was built, we were sitting at 70.
Yes.
And when we measured it, we were coming in at 65, 66, somewhere around in there.
That's what the as-built from the engineer that Community First paid to go out and do the as-built, that's what it showed.
Well, we just measured it this week. David Hubbard just measured it, and he's a road guy, and he measured 69 and a half and 68, going back to, kicking the dirt off and getting to where the concrete is. But my request is, because Phase 2 was approved based on the standards when the roads were built, and all of these inspectors and all of the county were involved in making the roads, they need to be accepted based on those standards. Because had Harold not gone bankrupt and this happened, they were made to those standards at the time. He was held to those standards, and when there was some mistakes made, he had to pay to have them done. And he did make the changes per the county. So if I was building a new subdivision, obviously I'd loop it or I'd do whatever the county required. But this is what the county required when it was built. And I guarantee you, if the paperwork for Phase 1 had not been lost, we would see that that's how they voted to approve it, how they got to Phase 2, and we would not be having this conversation. But for us and the neighborhood, I don't think it's fair to hold us to 2019 standards for a 2005 or 6 road that was overseen and approved or inspected by Tom Oxley and Larry Harbin and Wesley Galloway and Jimmy White and Mr. Kelly. And they did everything based on Scott Carroll's drawings, and Mark Holbrooks came out to check these on. They did all the piping that needed to be done, and all of it was bonded, and the entrance was approved and issued by Barbara Seals of the South Carolina DOC. The standards were issued by Art Holbrooks. That's all in this paperwork. So that's why Mr. Knight wanted me to get that paperwork to you.
And I'm good with Twin View Drive. I don't have an issue
Sure.
with that.
And
That was just the statement that I made about maybe looking at doing that in the future on the loops, and as y'all continue to expand, looking at that, just because it's been very much cost effective to run a loop rather, and like I said, I know somebody owns that piece of property, but there's an ability for y'all to switch that out or something if y'all choose to look at that in the future. But that's just my thought.
it's 2
on
lots
there.
that you'd have to do to make that loop.
Right,
Right,
but I think your corporation owns the other one, correct?
right.
So,
Well, we certainly would like a time period. I mean, if and when we approve Twin View Phase 1, to discuss coming to terms on the cul-de-sacs and what can be done for Comet and Cozy Hill. Because right now, they meet the standards that they were asked to do.
close,
Pardon?
they're close.
Close, yeah, you're right. One's half a foot off and one's 2 feet off. You're right.
But,
And-
I mean, we've got a lot of subdivision roads that we hold to extreme high standards. This is a special thing. Like I said, I'm in
yeah.
favor of the Twin View Drive.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
Close on the cul-de-sacs.
Okay.
I don't want, I'm not gonna hold you accountable to the 90 square feet. That takes up half of a person's yard in that one specific area.
Right.
I have a question on the cul-de-sacs. Do they have to be paved, or could it have gravel around it?
It has to be a paved surface.
Has to be a paved
Has to be a
surface?
continuous surface, whether it's pavement or gravel. Now, if you want to take them out and it become gravel, that would be one thing. The problem, sir, if I may, is the weight of a fire engine when
Okay.
it's loaded down with water. If it hits the edge of a pavement and it goes to gravel, it's literally just going to tear up your pavement because of the weight of the truck itself.
Well, I think we talked as a POA, I mean, if you're not gonna accept the cul-de-sacs, okay, and you want a twin view, we're fine with that. But maybe over the next year, we can find out some way to fix this problem. I think, what was it, Cozy, yours? That one, I don't think is a big problem, but the other one, that drop-off is an issue.
The drop-off is an issue.
Grade
It
on
drops
that one
off pretty high,
is.
because I know,
It is.
you'd have to bring a lot of filling.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be the first time that there's been a county road and a non-county road attached to it. The question
Yeah,
is
we're
gonna
good with
be
that.
from a property owners association, what y'all decide to do on a road fee without that, because I'm not trying to leave anybody out, because we're really trying to work with y'all as much as we can, but we
Yeah, we
also
appreciate
have
that.
standards to do on that, and that's, you know, in my recommendation, you know, did y'all want to bring, and I know y'all have had the discussions with her about what you wanted and what the requirement is as we move forward.
Yes, sir.
I'm pleased to make that motion with Twin View Drive with what we had discussed on there, to bring that forward.
Can you flip, Katie, please?
Do we want to hear from
It'll be-
Yeah,
our staff?
That's what.
Yes, sir. We're just trying to get it up on the screen here for you. If you
No,
could,
You definitely want to
please.
take Twin View regardless.
Hmm?
You definitely want to take Twin View, no matter what.
Yeah, they're still gonna give it a hard time with this. Hopefully, just maybe we can.
I mean, the first one's not really, because
No,
I don't
that's
mind.
as big as they got with the condition.
I was just hoping that maybe we just had to put a gravel
And I do
thing
have to say on
around it.
behalf of the emergency services staff, the citizens, Ms. Gant, Kyle, I mean, we've all worked very hard. We've all walked it. It was cold one day, rainy one day. I know that the council members have gone out and looked at it. And I really appreciate Mr. Knight sending this. I think the message to the future is, and I'm not knocking anybody here, but we are live on YouTube. The message to the future is you get a conditional acceptance or an acceptance to your road, file it. File it. We wouldn't have to be chasing down so much, and I know this one is particularly strange because it went to a bank and then to one
Yep.
developer and then another
It's been a
developer.
nightmare.
Our file on Willow Creek is this deep, but it's all full of looking for other files. Where is it, can anybody find this document or can anybody find that document? And Ms. Gant, I have to tell you, if she is representing you in any way, you have yourself someone that is willing to come dig through every piece of paper in a government office for hour upon hour. She is amazing. You've really, really kicked it.
Okay, if you guys do take Twin View, did you go out there and check where they wanted to put those lights?
I have not been out, but noting where the power boxes is, and since the utilities are underground and where the handholds are, we will judge it based on the lumens and distance. If
Okay.
we have to give a
But
very
it's marked now where they can put
It's
them.
pretty close, though. You know where the power box is right there. It's pretty close. If it's within 2 or 3
He would
feet.
only go 5 feet either way with me, for either side of this box. Because he said otherwise, I guess because there's gas lines and he can't go beyond a certain point. So it's not the front box, it's the back box, which really surprised me.
Right, right.
And, but they can't go beyond a certain point. And I think you and I talked, and
We did.
we do not have, there's power on the other side of the road, going down the hill into phase 2.
Correct.
There's a box there, but up that other end there isn't any
Right.
power.
So, and you're gonna put the 2 there,
Right.
one at each one.
We're gonna, what's that?
The lights.
We're gonna put one in the,
You're gonna
plan
put
is to
at
put
the
one
front.
in the entrance. You turn it over that first lot to the, if they need
Yes,
it?
yes, yes.
Okay, so that's gonna be
Is that
open
correct?
space. Well, there's, at the end of that open space that Amy's talking about turning over, there's a box.
Yes.
That's the first one as you come in. We can put one there. It's gonna be actually on Sylvia's property, the light.
Is that nearest to the dip?
No, that's nearest to the front entrance of.
Front entrance. The dip is the one by the gray house, the one that's got
But there's
the,
no power source at the dip?
It's in between,
it's in the center of the.
it's in between those two lots.
It's actually in the middle of the two cul-de-sacs.
Right.
Yes, that's where we want the light.
Yeah, and that's, yeah,
They're flagged if you wanna go back
they're
out.
flagged.
We can move them. I've got a work order, but I put everything on hold until we get the
Yes,
exact
don't
location.
expend any money or more time.
Yeah, and the other light is close to where the second sign, first coming in, the one that would, if you're driving into the neighborhood, blind drive, blind
ma'am.
drive, that's where the other light would be, close to that box. So,
Okay.
so
I think we
that's
can work with that.
where they talked about those two
The way
lights.
it looked, yes.
Okay.
But again, it's the lumens,
Right.
like you said.
We got the lumens.
Yeah.
We'll just have to double check and make sure.
Got the looms now, okay.
Yes, yes.
That was my only
Thank
question about
you.
gravel, but guess that doesn't work.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Mr. Davis, I know that that isn't very visible up on the screen, but if you would like to kind
I've got
of
it
briefly go through it, or if y'all just want to read it off as a motion, either one would be fine with us.
Well, Ms. Brock, just a question of order. So we're talking about completed within a year of this. So would that come back to council at that time to show that
It would
those
come
had
back
been
to
met?
council for accepting the road.
So my question is, as a point of closure for the subdivision, if they get it done before then, they can bring it back at that time?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Because my advice, I would like to be sitting up here in a year, but that's up to the voters to decide as well. There's three of us that could change. But
We'll technically still be sitting here in a year even if you
no,
want.
it wouldn't. It'd be January when it came back on council.
Oh.
So, but I'm just saying for a point of closure for the subdivision, do you think, and that would be a question for you, do you think you could get most of this done within?
We want to do it right away. I thought we were gonna get
where we need to be.
I thought we were gonna get the roads approved and that's why we're getting all these bids right away, because
Okay.
we're ready.
Well, I'm just saying it'd be to your benefit to be in front of the same council with
Yes, sir.
this statement as it would be. I mean, I hope to be here. And, so just stating that, you'd probably want to be in front of the same council that's willing to work with you, this council has and the staff has.
Yes.
Just a thought. So I know how that changes from time
We
to
do
time.
not want to wait a year.
Well, y'all don't have to. I'm just saying like with this, so,
So 1 year, if that would be clarified in any way, Ms. Ganton, correct me if I'm wrong on behalf of the community, anybody, 1 year would be the maximum amount, not, and if it happened before, then of course you would come back to us. Staff would verify that the things had been completed conditionally as written or as approved by committee, and then we would look at it again, put it on the agenda for full acceptance of the road. And that would be the end of it, regardless if it was sooner than a year. But if it was later than 1 year, we could always come back and request an extension. It would not be my recommend to extend this on and on and on. When we look back at our notes from phase one, we go back to 04 to 05.
talking about just Twin View or?
Just Twin View, that's correct.
Oh, we can do this quick.
And we are here for any assistance that we can provide.
I'd like to make a motion from this committee in favor of conditional acceptance to be submitted to full council for consideration. That would be the January 21st meeting. Would that be, Mr. Root?
Yes, sir.
That full council consider accepting Twin View Drive conditionally upon the following events listed below, provided these items are completed within 1 year of the date of conditional acceptance. County will formally accept the roads upon transfer of appropriate easements, rights of way and dedication. The following repair distresses in roadway, pothole, and the alligator cracking is noted. Delineation of the intersection with Critter Road utilizing roadway striping. Riprap inlet outlet protection put on cross line pipes showing erosion. stabilization with grassing of bare spots in the right-of-way, additional right-of-way provided to Oconee County as necessary, and signage placed to alert drivers of Blind Hill condition at the crest near the intersection of Cozy Hill Court and Comet View Court, and a street light in the sag between the intersections noted. Is that clear?
I have a question about,
Hang on, that's a
Oh, I-
motion on the floor.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Second.
Discussion, as you see fit.
You wanna,
That's as you see fit.
you have a question now?
I have a question about this.
She needs to come forward.
Come up to
Step
the
forward,
I'm so
please.
sorry.
Thank you.
This rip-rap outlet protection, put cross-line pipes showing erosion. And I know Kyle and I just briefly talked about grassing the bare spots. Is that the brand-new bare spots that were just done?
It
that
would
we-
be any, but that would be the biggest, yeah, where they've
Because-
done construction in that one lot. And
On that very first
cross
lot
line.
coming in the corner, where the
Yes.
new little driveway is,
That plastic piping.
where that plastic pipe was,
Right.
that needs to be grassed over. So that would be, that has to be grassed over.
He plans on sodding that.
Yeah, okay. But what is the rip-rap inlet outlet? That I don't know. And who
Somebody
is in
has,
charge of the striping?
somebody has river rock at the end of one of those pipes to keep it from eroding at the intersection with, I believe, Cozy Hill. Maybe it's Common View, but there's
is.
river rock put in there to stop the scour and the undermining of the pipe. So if there is erosion issues still out there, and I believe that that was the one that was being discussed on the as-built, that was the main one, but somebody put river rock in that
Yeah, it's full of
area.
rock.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it, but if the new pipe that was put in, doesn't have stabilization put around it, doesn't get stabilized with sod or something along those lines, or if there's more scour that comes from the heavy rains on, loose soil, then that may be something that needs to be put in at those areas, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking, let me be clear, that the intersection with the river rock and that erosion, we're good with that.
Yes.
Those rocks are fine. And we're just talking about the new area where they're gonna sod, that we all saw when they were just had the fresh dirt out.
The biggest thing is if this gets done in February, and I'm not trying to put any dates, but then the March and April rains come, and a bunch of that dirt gets washed down and whatever else, then we would have to repair it because we would own the roads. We don't want to accept a problem. That's hence fixing the pothole and the alligator cracking, all those things.
Right,
It's just a problem that was visible when we were out there riding around.
right.
Yeah.
And that, they.
And he may be, in all intentions, taking care of it. It may already be taken care of. I hadn't rode out there this week, but that's just one issue that was noted in the as-built, and it's still maybe a problem.
Well, I did notice that there's more dirt over that pipe. Is the owner of that house, is that,
That's Russell's way. I talked to him on that.
okay.
Hang on, come forward if you, just,
Coming forward again.
Thank you.
all right.
I talked to Russell.
Our microphones don't pick you up till you're right in there where you're at, so for the viewers and stuff.
And I asked him about what's going on, so where the pipe is, he plans on he owns both lots. He plans on putting a driveway back to, he's gonna make a garage back there. And he told me he plans on sodding that, and I told him that I guess Kyle had concerns about it running over the road, but he said he's not through, he's gonna make a little bit of a culvert, and then he plans on sodding it, but I don't know if he'll get the sod done by February.
No, yeah. It
Or
needs
your
to be
problem-
stabilized.
Hmm?
It needs to be stabilized. And if he doesn't get the driveway stabilized and in before February, then
Oh, okay,
he'll have to get an encroachment permit from us and everything else. So we'll
right,
probably
stabilized, what do you mean by stabilized? I mean, if he puts, he's
Vegetation.
gonna put something on it,
Vegetation, yeah.
okay.
And all this can be kind of worked out.
Don't
Okay,
read
yeah,
into it.
because I
Don't
could-
go into it too, realistically, we're trying to, some of the stuff he would have to do, period, whether we own the roads or not, for the safety of his neighbor
Yeah.
down below him or anything like that. So we're trying to keep issues from happening that he's probably going to address anyway.
Yes,
That's all that is.
okay.
Okay.
So,
And then the striping, who would be doing the striping? That was one more thing. the delineation of of Critter Road utilizing roadway striping. I'm not a striper.
That-
Whoever you talk to about doing the paving for the alligatoring and the pothole, they've got a striper.
Okay, and then would,
How's the stripe go?
how's the stripe go? Yeah, exactly. How is it, will there be, I mean,
We can mark it.
We'll mark it.
you'll mark it.
We can
Okay,
make
there
that.
you go. All right. You'll mark it, okay.
Good
Pardon?
to go.
We can put X's
We
on
can
the
do that.
pavement of where it needs to be striped at.
Where it needs to be striped
How
at?
far up does it have to go?
We'd have to look at it.
We didn't measure.
Not all the road, not the entire road.
Yes, not all the way.
Yeah, we don't-
Just the entrance.
Just the entrance.
Right.
To,
And I'll be deeding
Remember where
over,
that property post is on the other side of the Leland cypress trees?
right.
Close to there?
Oh, it's in that lot 17. That common area by the Critter Road and Twin View
yeah, right at
entrance.
the intersection, just so when cars pull up to the intersection, they're not so far over that somebody turning in from the left would be in conflict with them because of the angle that it's at.
Okay,
So the intersection's
where
wide
we
enough,
park.
if you stripe it and people stay on their side of that stripe, then you're not in conflict
okay.
with somebody
It's near
turning
where
in
we
left.
parked.
It's where we parked, that's
Yes,
what I thought, it was near
yes.
where we parked. Okay, and then you would need from me, to turn over property and an easement, to turn over the roads. Is there
Right-of-ways.
just,
Yeah, we'd.
how do I turn
we
over
would
the
have-
7.76 acres?
No,
Well,
it would be so many feet from the road
We've
for that
got
lot.
papers
We've
for
got.
that.
You got
yeah,
papers
we've
for
got
that?
it.
We've got
Okay.
templates for all
all right,
of
if you
that.
have templates, then I'll fill those out.
7.6 acres includes the cul-de-sacs, so you have to find out what those cul-de-sacs are. 'cause you're
That's
not turning
true.
those over, right?
Correct.
That's true, that
Well,
doesn't,
that's not what the motion is on the floor right now.
right, okay. Well, we can measure that then.
And again, this comes before council in the second meeting in January. So there is some times, any questions, and then you can address any questions before council at that time as well.
Okay.
So, and I think if Ms. Smith heard me on that, that would be the 21st. Is that what we discussed?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Root, do you think we can have that on the 21st?
I do, yes, sir.
Is that a single read?
It is.
So that'd be, just for clarification, be a single read in January. But any questions, anything you have at any time. So,
And you can
you have a
always-
motion and a second on the floor, Mr. Hart.
All in favor of this special action item, please say aye. Aye. Is there any other business to be brought forward?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.